Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. Cases, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com.
Here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network, I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeping us on the air as he does every weekday live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Tomorrow is when we start free agency in the NHL. It's been all Bruins the last couple of days, and what I'm introducing to you today is the Oops! All Bruins episode. We are looking at Bruins free agent targets. We'll see if there's a reunion with Brad Marchand on the cards and what Don Sweeney has done so far. Is this team getting better? Is he spending the money right? That's the whole show today. So stick on board. We're going to tell you who they need to get, who they might need to bring back, and maybe some of the trade options that they can look at. And obviously that Morgan Geekie contract as well. Do they go a bit too long? We will see. But we start where we start. Let's do it. Let's commence the Oops All Bruins episode. Free agency tomorrow, July the 1st, and the Bruins have some money to spend here. They've got their cap space sitting at just under $13 million, as you'll get a look from Bruins cap space from Twitter. I mean, the best account for this time of year. There are going to be some trades in here. I look at Casey Middlestat still with that almost $6 million cap hit. Jonas Corposalo at $3 million on the cap hit. There are still some moves that they can make, some trades to free up some space. And don't even count out Hampus Lindholm, who I think could be a big part of this team. But that's a nice contract for a contender. He's still got a couple more years left on it at $6.5 million. Like when he's healthy, that's a pretty good deal for somebody out there. So the Bruins can free up some more space. But obviously, looking at free agency, the two things this team needs desperately is scoring and a right shot defenseman. They're real thin on right shot defensemen, and they obviously need to bolster their scoring, hence a 6-year deal for Morgan Geekie that we'll talk about later. But of course, we're going to look at the two probably biggest forwards on the market outside of Mitch Marner, who doesn't seem to be on the market anymore. There's not a ton of scoring in this free agency class. There's not a ton of 30-goal scorers out there. In fact, if you're talking about big-time scorers, you are obviously looking at 100-point Mitch Marner guy. And then the next one in terms of a goal scorer was Morgan Geekie, who went over 30 goals this past year. So then the next two are Nikolai Ehlers from Winnipeg and Brock Boeser from Vancouver. This is very, very tight. I think these guys are very, very similar players. But I am going to give the edge for whom the Bruins should sign to Brock Boeser here. He's a guy who brings in 20 goals every single year. He did have kind of what looks to be an anomaly season 2 years ago where he scored 40 on that really good Canucks team of 22-23, but averaging 23 goals and just under 50 points per year. He's projected to be around 6 years, $8.5 million a year. I think that could be as low as like $7.75 to $8 million. That would sign him through age 35, as he's still in his prime years right now at age 29. He's coming off a bit of a tough year. That was a tough year for the entire Canucks team. I think he only hit 23 goals, which is right around his average. 25 goals, which is a little above his average, which takes into account some of his early years. Now, he did score the 40 goals 2 years ago. That was one of his 2 All-Star seasons. The other time he scored over 25 goals, the only other time was in his first full year in the NHL, where he scored 29. So maybe that's a bit of a red flag if you're a Bruins fan in terms of the consistency you're looking for over a 6-year contract. But this automatically elevates the Bruins in terms of offensive talent on that second line. That's the problem with this team. It's really only on that first line, and it's really only David Pastrnak. Geekie definitely benefits from Pastrnak. 65% of his goals were from David Pastrnak in some way, shape, or form. So, or I think it was 65% of his points came from David Pastrnak, all told. So you need some depth in that scoring. The Bruins have needed it for a couple of years here. What a deal for Brock Boeser or Nikolai Ehlers does for you is it finally starts to replace the production that you lost and never replaced with trading Taylor Hall and letting Jake DeBrusk go. You know, you could have Jake DeBrusk at 5 by whatever, 7.75, I think he's getting from Vancouver, or you could get Brock Boeser now for 6 by 8. And I think you're getting a pretty similar player. Where I give a bit of the edge to Boeser over Nikolai Ehlers is some Bruins buzzwords here. The edge I give Brock Boeser over Nikolai Ehlers is the physicality. Okay, because I know I talked about it in the build-up to the draft quite a bit. Like, I hate that the Bruins get so bogged down on big physical guys. But what I really hate is when they get bogged down on big physical guys who don't do much else. Brock Boeser does score. You know, he does give you 50 points most years. So that is, I know that's not what we would have thought of for an $8 million player last year or 2 years ago. But with this new cap, that's what it gets you. And a lot of Bruins fans were critical of Jake DeBrusk when he was here, myself included in that. But you didn't replace Jake DeBrusk. You didn't replace Taylor Hall. You even some of these guys who were here for a pinch, you didn't bring back Tyler Bertuzzi, who could have been that kind of guy. So it's kind of making up for a mistake that Don Sweeney let happen, 2-3 years ago by bringing in Brock Boeser. I do think he brings a little bit more power forward than Nikolai Ehlers does. And that way you're bringing in some of that big physical play, but also scores goals, also gives you some offense that you desperately need. But honestly, guys, for me, it's splitting hairs when you're looking at Brock Boeser, Nikolai Ehlers. You're getting essentially the same player. They're both 29 years old. They've both played. I think Ehlers has played one more year, 9 years versus 10 years in the NHL. Brock Boeser won a national championship in college as a 19-year-old. But you're essentially getting the same thing from these guys. Ehlers averages a little bit more, 23 goals, same number as Boeser, but 52 points. He's never scored 30, which is wild for someone who is probably the most sought-after forward on the market outside of Mitch Marner. He's only scored 24 this year for a very, very good Winnipeg team. Never scored 30 goals. His 29 career high came 7 years ago. That's another thing we're talking about with both these guys. They hit high goal totals a long time ago. They're in their prime years, but their best scoring years could be behind them just based on these trends. Of course, Boeser has what looks like kind of a fluke year at 40 goals, playing on a line with JT Miller, but that looks like something that he can do. He's playing with Miller and Elias Pettersson, kind of flipping between those lines, actually mostly with Pettersson. It's something that he is capable of. Ehlers has never scored 30. He's same projection, 6 years, $8 million. He was a plus 14 this year. Boeser was a minus 25. Take that however you will. Vancouver was a fucking dumpster fire that did not have a leader in that locker room, and they traded their best center in the middle of the season in JT Miller, and Elias Pettersson, a guy I really love, played like dog shit. So take that for how you will. Nikolai Ehlers played for the President's Trophy winning team, the Winnipeg Jets, and he was a plus 14. So when you're looking at scoring, the Bruins should be in on two of the biggest guys on the market. It's not, again, not counting Mitch Marner. It sounds like that deal is already done with Vegas. But it's just not a great year for getting great scoring. It's a decent year for depth scoring. The Bruins next year, that's going to be a big scoring year. Could have Connor McDavid on the market. Could have, and might well should have, Jack Eichel on the market next year. This way, you're getting some depth scoring, and you hope they don't shit the bed like Elias Lindholm did in this past year. The other place the Bruins have a serious need is right shot defenseman. They don't have any depth there. I know they re-signed Yoki Haru. We'll talk about that later in the show, but that is like depth. Like that guy should be a third pairing. He should be, and on this team, he will be a second pairing, most likely, unless they move Peak up a little bit. And really, the only big name for right shot defenseman out there on the market is a two-time Stanley Cup champion and someone you can raid from one of your biggest rivals right now, and that is Aaron Ekblad of the Florida Panthers. Ekblad is certainly the biggest name on the market. It's been, for defensemen anyway, it's been an interesting couple of years here. They've obviously won back-to-back Stanley Cups, but for the first time in his career, he's been kind of limited by injuries. He was a guy who used to play between 75 and 80 games a year. That's not been the case the last two seasons. He's only played a combined 107 games over the last 2 years. He's been dealing with some injuries. He missed a good bit of the second half of this 2024-2025 season, but the numbers are undeniable. I mean, this guy has been a really steady top of the league kind of defenseman on a very good team for a long time. He's another 29-year-old like Boeser and Ehlers, but Ekblad being a 29-year-old, there's a little bit more wear and tear on the tires because of his style of play and the injuries he's sustained over the last couple of years. He's projected at only about 4/7, which would kind of fit if the Bruins can make some of these trades here, clear some cap space. They can get someone like an Ekblad and someone like an Ehlers for a Boeser and still sit within that 12.83 that they have available. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this one, but I don't see why the Bruins wouldn't be in on someone like Aaron Ekblad. They just have such a need at that position. Florida does not look like they're going to re-sign him. We know Florida's pulled some magic before. I didn't think they were going to be able to re-sign Bennett, and they did, but that's probably at the sacrifice of not being able to sign Aaron Ekblad. He went into the local Starbucks last week, gave them all like huge tips, and was like, "Hey, thanks for everything over the years." I think he thinks he's not going to be a Florida Panther next year for the first time in his career. Still steady as all get out. Only made 2 All-Star teams, and they were his first 2 years in the league. But this is a guy who's still going to give you, 10 goals, 35 points a year. That's what he's giving you. Even in these shortened years, he got 33 points in 56 games this year. Like that was a nice offensive production year for Aaron Ekblad. I'll say what the concern is for him, other than kind of the injuries he sustained over the last few seasons. He's got a great D partner in Gustav Forsling. And I just don't think he's going to have that quality with the Bruins. I think he's going to be playing with either Nikita Zadorov or, more likely, Hampus Lindholm. I think Zadorov might be on that first pairing with Charlie McAvoy, and they're going to see how that works. But if you have Ekblad with Zadorov, it's going to be physical as hell. But Gustav Forsling was has been such an incredible Swiss Army knife defenseman over the last few seasons. He's not just a big guy who can hit. He is a puck mover. He is a shutdown defenseman that allows Aaron Ekblad to do a couple of different things and maybe cover up for him a little bit. But Ekblad came alive again in that Stanley Cup final. Man, that first D pairing was truly incredible with he and Forsling, and Sasha Barkov didn't do a lot on the score sheet in that final series. But those three really did a number on McDavid and Draisaitl, that when the Oilers had McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice at the same time, they were outscored 5-1 in the series when those two were on the ice at the same time. And that's the Oilers breaking glass in case of emergency. Let's put 2 of the top 5 players on the ice right now because we desperately need something. That's what the Oilers do when they're desperate. And Florida flat out kicked their ass when it came to those situations. And Aaron Ekblad was still a huge part of that. 4x7, I think, is fine in this new cap era. It will, of course, be cutting it pretty tight if you're the Bruins and you want to do something like an Ehlers, like a Brock Boeser. Those are clearly the 2 top guys at the forward position at a pretty similar contract value. Aaron Ekblad's pretty much the only quality right-handed defenseman out there of pretty big quality, and he's going to kind of dictate the market when it comes to that. There'll be some other teams interested in Aaron Ekblad as well, but that would be a really nice move for the Bruins to bolster that D-core. And maybe he does play alongside someone like Mason Lohrei instead of a Hampus Lindholm or Nikita Zadorov. I see Lohrei probably playing more with a guy like McAvoy, but it could be a guy where he can help, Aaron Ekblad can help bring him along. Maybe the Bruins defensemen get a little bit more active in the play like they were under Jim Montgomery and like Aaron Ekblad was with Florida. And then you have these 2 guys with some pretty good offensive talent that can pinch in on a lot of plays, keep some plays alive in the offensive zone. But on the flip side of that, we have heard Marco Sturm saying, this is a team without any offense, so we need to be a pretty stout defensive team, which is certainly what the Kings preached, certainly what Marco Sturm preached with the Ontario Reign as well. We'll certainly see how that goes. We're getting some comments in here, and I want to address some before we get out of the segment. Guys, if you have any comments about this, please do put that down in the comment section below. Roxy, I think, talking about Aaron Ekblad here. Would love him, but just extended Yoki Haru at 3 years, $3 million a year. We'll talk about that in the third segment, unless we're trading Andrew Peeke, which I think it brings up a good point. Peeke is going to have some value here. I like Peeke. I like having kind of that third pairing, stay-at-home defensive defenseman who's pretty cheap. But this is a guy who's played for a while. He had a pretty decent tournament at the World Championships with the USA. There's going to be some value for Peeke. He doesn't clear a ton off your books. But it's certainly someone, I guess we can't see it from the Bruins cap space thing here. He doesn't clear a ton off your books, but absolutely is someone who could be a trade candidate. Maybe you throw him in with someone like Casey Middlestat and away you go. He's still got one more year at 2.75. So I say it's not clearing a lot off the books, but if you've got 12.8 in your cap space and you're trying to get, two guys at 15 million, like Aaron Ekblad and Nikolai Ehlers or Brock Boeser, then that 2.75 does become obviously a pretty huge number. I think they will likely try to move on from Casey Middlestat, see what they can get for him. And again, maybe Hampus Lindholm. I still think he's one of your best defensemen, but that is a really nice contract that some contender might give up a lot for. NJ says this as well. Should the Bruins give Swayman a chance or should he be traded? I am firmly in the camp that the Bruins should be giving Jeremy Swayman a chance. Okay. I'm not going to excuse his play from last year because it was bad. And I think it was his fault by really dragging this contract negotiation along. I think he didn't come off as very sympathetic or very likable in this contract extension, these contract extension talks. And it almost felt like at times the Bruins were punishing him by playing him every single night instead of, giving Joonas Korpisalo, a guy they traded for, a bit of a shot. I think they're much more likely to trade Korpisalo at 3x3. Much more reason to get rid of that. Maybe a bit of a tough one to get rid of, not tougher than Swayman at 8x8.25 or whatever it is. 8x8, 8 for 64, right? I think Swayman's going to have a bounce back year. I really do. He needs a tandem though. I'll say that. The Bruins need a cheap, but a guy who's ready to play in the NHL. Maybe Michael DiPietro is that, the guy from Providence. But yes, I'm giving Swayman another shot here. I think that's something where the Bruins are not in a terrible spot right now. I think they just need a dependable backup who they're going to play, unlike Korpisalo, and it would really behoove them to move off that Korpisalo contract. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like the video, guys. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. 95% of you guys watching these videos on average are not subscribed to the channel. Guys, we're talking Boston sports and a lot of Bruins every single day. Live, high noon Eastern time on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. We put out each of the segments on YouTube as well. We're going to be talking a ton of Bruins over the next couple of days and weeks. These trades that Don Sweeney says they're still going to be in on. Free agency. Loved the James Hagens pick. We've already done a couple of videos on that. So check out the videos on the channel. And of course, find us every weekday. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. When we come back, we are going to be talking about a potential reunion that NHL analysts are hinting at. Brad Marchand back to the Bruins? Does it still seem likely? Let's talk about it after this quick break on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Visit roguemediamusic.com for more music.
Are you
ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
And now, back to our show.
Bringing it right back here on the Cam Show, the Oops All Bruins episode, as we are just hours away from NHL free agency officially kicking off, and the Bruins have some room to make some moves here and make this team better. So guys, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, about 95% of you guys watching these videos are not subscribed. Like, why not, man? We're bringing Bruins content pretty much every day, all Boston sports content. So check out the other stuff, the other videos out on the channel right now. We've done a lot of Bruins over the last week or so, mainly talking about the draft. Love the James Hagens pick. We'll go over the rest of the draft this week as well, but I wanted to get the free agency stuff locked down and out of the way before this hits the official time. So let's go on with it. We talked about Brock Boeser. We talked about Nikolai Ehlers, Aaron Ekblad in the last segment, and looked at where the Bruins cap space is. But now there's a big time rumor. Okay. The Bruins open, well, the NHL opens free agency Tuesday, July the 1st, and the Bruins could be in on a big time reunion. Pierre LeBrun tweeting out on Sunday, as we wait to see Brad Marchand's decision with Florida, several teams, including Boston and Toronto, hope to talk to him come Tuesday when the market opens. If he doesn't re-sign with the Cup champs, the Bruins would certainly be open to bringing him back. But again, perhaps Marchand re-signs in Florida. This is going to be one of the big talking points of the first week of free agency. Whether Brad Marchand wants to come back to the Bruins, and maybe more importantly for us Bruins fans, whether it behooves the Bruins to bring back Brad Marchand. Try saying that 5 times fast. Do the Bruins want to bring their old captain back? I think becomes the very interesting question. It seemed like a couple weeks ago, maybe even a couple of days ago, for some of you, it wasn't that long ago that I had completely ruled this out, that Brad Marchand was not coming back to the Bruins. It still doesn't make a ton of sense. And it definitely didn't a few weeks ago when he was, winning the Stanley Cup with another team and probably finishing second in the Conn Smythe Trophy voting, having an unbelievable Stanley Cup final. I don't see it making sense, mainly because of this. He wanted 3 years by 7.5, 4 months ago from the Bruins. And they said no. And to be quite honest with you guys, as much as I love Brad Marchand and as much as I hate Don Sweeney, I think that was a good move by Don Sweeney. For the direction this team's going in, to sign him through age 39 at that kind of a cap hit, even in the new cap, like that just hinders you more than it helps you. And part of that is because part of that is because Elias Lindholm has sucked, at a 7-year, $7.75 million deal. Elias Lindholm is stunk at 7 years for 7.75. And so Marchand wanted to get near that kind of cap hit because he knows he's a better player right now than Elias Lindholm. So after the postseason Brad Marchand had, what makes you think that he is going to go back to the Bruins and say, yeah, you know what? I'll actually do the 2x7 that you were talking about. And maybe I'll even go down to 2x5.5. Like, what makes you think he's going to do that? No, he's going to want $8 million a year. And that's what the projections have him at. They have him at going for 3 years by $8 million. And some contender with some cap space will do that. Why wouldn't you if you're a contender? If you're the Bruins, that's a different story. Right now, you would be stuck in the same conundrum that you were 4 months ago, in that Brad Marchand is either your second best or your third best forward on the team. That doesn't bring the kind of impact that he would as the 6th best forward or 7th best forward for the Florida Panthers. It's just a totally different scenario. And the Bruins will keep calling it a retool, and maybe it is, but they are in a way different spot than Florida or Toronto. So if you're laying those teams out in front of Brad Marchand and he's saying, I can go to a team that just won its division, that's got a ton of star power and is desperate to win a Stanley Cup. Or I can go back to a team that I just won the Stanley Cup with and had one of the best postseasons of my career. Or I can go back to the Bruins for the vibes. Vibes HC, Boston Bruins hockey. Like, seriously, we all love the Bruins, but like, what is the pull for getting Brad Marchand back to Boston? Oh, you could be the captain again? I think he'd trade the cup for a captaincy. You know, I think he'd rather win the cup. And certainly Florida and Toronto still have a much better shot at that than the Bruins do in the near future. Now, let me throw this at you. If the Bruins go out there and they make some big splashes, let's just say that. Let's say the Bruins go out there and make a big splash. They get someone like a Brock Boeser or a Nikolai Ehlers to really bolster their scoring. And they go out and they get Aaron Ekblad to really bolster their defense. Now you've got those guys there. That's a better team. And you'd be up against the cap. Bruins are going to need to make some trades anyway to free up some cap space. And they make those kinds of deals and then say, hey, Brad, how about you come back at 2x5, 2x5.5? Really finish what you started here. That's a different story. Okay, that is a very different outlook, because if they were to make those deals and have that kind of money to go and get Marchand, then you are a better team. And then Marchand is your fourth best forward, maybe even your fifth if Elias Lindholm actually breaks out. That's what the Bruins and Brad Marchand would love. But then again, you're already going against a case in Florida that can throw at him, hey, look, you're already our fifth or sixth best forward. We're already a cup contender, and you get more take-home money if you play here. It's still a hell of an ask, but it does make some more sense if the Bruins can make some of these moves, get some more depth scoring, and become a better team than they were last year. And that's why I don't think they go out and re-sign Brad Marchand. Because that scenario I just laid out for you, which makes the Bruins a better team, that's a lot to ask. That's a lot of moving parts. That's a lot of moves, okay? That's not just, oh, chalk it up, Bruins are going to get Boeser or Ehlers and Aaron Ekblad. That's probably not going to happen. They'll probably get one of those guys. And if that's the case, Brad Marchand isn't making you that much of a better team. Will he make you a better team? Of course he will. I think he's still got something in the tank. I think he's still a 20-goal scorer who can play both special teams units. And I think that's super valuable. But how valuable is it for a rebuilding team like the Bruins versus what it is for Florida or Toronto, or I would have said Montreal as well? I think he could really help the Canadiens, which would also seem like banana land, but so did him playing for the Panthers or the Leafs. And that seems like a very realistic possibility. I don't see the Bruins going at even $7, let alone $8 million a year, which is what Brad Marchand's postseason probably just demanded. But again, let's look at the cap space here. Look at all the empty spaces you have here. First off, you've got to fill that with something. And it's not like the Bruins have a pipeline. They don't want to play Georgi Merkulov. They don't want to play Fabian Lysell. Who knows if they'll bring up Fraser Minten this year, who they've already got locked in, Bruins cap space does, as their third line center. Bottom line is, you've still got to move off a couple of these guys. You've got to move off of Middlestat. You've got to move off of Korpisalo. I think there's a world where you move off of Hampus Lindholm, and I think there's a good chance you move off of Pavel Zacha. You know, you get some guys in here, some roster-ready guys in here, kind of the way you did with Zacha. You know, took a chance on him, tried to get the best hockey out of him, and maybe you did. You make a hockey trade here, but you've got some holes to fill on this team even before making some of these trades and freeing up some cap space. So I just, if you put a gun to my foot right now, I wouldn't even say that Brad Marchand is going to be a Boston Bruin next year. You know, I don't know how much it helps the team. I don't know how much it helps Brad Marchand, man. Because I think we've all been there at some facet of our life where we're like, no, I don't want to leave this, or I don't want to not do this anymore. And then you do it and it works out pretty well. And you're like, it's like leaving home for the first time. Didn't think I was ever going to leave home. Then I did for a long time. And it's like, yeah, I did okay. Brad Marchand left home and won a Stanley Cup. Why would he be dying to get back to the Boston Bruins? New uniforms? Like, there's nothing that's really drawing him back. And from the flip side, I don't know that there's much drawing the Bruins back to Brad Marchand. I still think they've got a long way to go to be real contenders, like a long way. I think if you play free agency right this year, they could well be a playoff team. You play free agency right, and you get some bounce back years from your goaltender, from your top line center in Elias Lindholm. And then, yeah, you probably are close to being a playoff team. But I think this was a good move by Don Sweeney back in February, early March to say, you know what, Brad, we're just not going to go there. We're not. It was really good, self-reflecting, self-awareness, saying that we're not a Brad Marchand away from anything. No offense. There are other teams that are. We're not. We've got a long way to go. So, yeah, it would be poetic for him to come back, get the captaincy, kind of lead this young team, take some people under his wing and all that schmaltzy bullshit. But the reality is there's no way the Bruins should be paying him $8 million a year. They shouldn't be paying him $7 million. $5 and a half, sure. But Brad Marchand probably rightfully is going to scoff at that because he's going to have better options. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Did you know he did actually used to play for the Bruins? It might be hard to remember over these last few months, but Brad Marchand did at one time play for the Boston Bruins. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Should they go after Brad Marchand? Would he want to come back? Would you even want him back? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Our subscriber count has just been on fire the last few days and weeks. We're talking a lot of Bruins today and in the next couple of weeks on this channel. It's nothing but Boston sports coming to you live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. Coming up next, we're still Oops All Bruins, okay? Because Don Sweeney already has made some moves. He has bolstered, kept the homegrown players in this roster that led them all the way to 15th in the Eastern Conference last year. We'll tell you the good, the bad, the ugly of the signings the Bruins have already made and whether this team got better. Let's talk about it next after a quick 2-minute break here on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science, take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back to the show, The Cam Show, here on Rogue Media Sports Network. It's called that because I'm Cam, your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air as he does every weekday, live at high noon Eastern time on YouTube, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. We have been talking Bruins all day. We will continue to talk about Bruins. We've talked about the guys they should probably make deals for. Now the guys they've actually locked down before free agency started. The Boston Bruins had a plan going into this offseason. Don Sweeney had a plan. And what his plan was basically assessing this team and saying, when you finish 15th in the Eastern Conference, level on points for last place in the conference, which you better do, is continue to lock up that team, because they've locked up some more guys than I probably expected them to do going into the July 1st free agency period. Let's start with the big one, Morgan Geekie, the one that makes the most sense. Geekie is a restricted free agent, obviously had a big-time year for the Bruins last year, going over 30 goals, 33 goals, 57 points, playing on a line with David Pastrnak, a guy that he gelled with quite a bit. The Bruins lock him down 6 years, $5.5 million as a 26-year-old. I'll be nitpicky here. I don't love the 6 years thing. I just didn't. I think you're bidding against yourself when it came to the years on that contract. I would have rather seen it be 4 years, but at a cap hit at $5.5 million, especially with the salary cap going up the way it is, that's pretty good value for a guy who just scored 30 goals. Now, the elephant in the room is the fact that he was doing it with David Pastrnak, and 65% of his points came via David Pastrnak. And that is very much evident by the fact that he played on the first line and he had 9 more goals than he had assists. Okay. Like, there's absolutely, like, that needs to be taken into account here, that if you don't have him with David Pastrnak, that could be a bit of a mess. The good news is David Pastrnak is also signed for 6 years. So chances are he's going to be playing a lot with Pasta for the life of that contract. So there is some kind of silver lining in that. But I think you got something really impressive out of Morgan Geekie. And the stat was out on Twitter yesterday that it was like the most goals in the league after December 1st were, I want to say it was David Pastrnak, Leon Draisaitl, Tage Thompson, and Morgan Geekie. Like, those were the guys. Morgan Geekie was in that category after having a bad first month or so. And he is a pretty good player. Is he a first-line player? Probably shouldn't be. But that's where the Bruins are at in their talent deficiency right now. He's got a hell of a shot. You know, you need that one trait to stay in the NHL for a long time, and that is Morgan Geekie's shot. He's a decently fast guy. And I think where it comes back to with this is he gels really well with David Pastrnak. And you struggled to put that together in the last few years. Even when Pasternak's scoring over 100 points, I think that's been a concern over the last few seasons to get guys that play really well with him. And you saw Pavel Zacha as a first-line center for a good bit of last season because he gelled with David Pastrnak. The kid is about to enter his prime years. He's getting better by the year. 33 goals might have been a fluke, and that's the risk that you're taking right now. But we already talked about what the market looked like for goal scorers. It's not that great when Brock Boeser and Nikolai Ehlers are really the top 2 guys on the market when it comes to goal scoring. And Marner would be the other one as a 100-point guy, but he was also 22 goals, 24 goals, same thing as Nikolai Ehlers and Brock Boeser. When the market is that bare on goal scoring, then Morgan Geekie at 33 goals, like, someone was going to be very interested for a kid in his RFA year. So I think this is a good move by the Bruins. Again, 6 years, little much, probably. But that $5.5 million cap hit is pretty good for a 30-goal scorer who is going to be playing with David Pastrnak for a while, unless you believe the rumors that the Panthers are going to go and trade for him. I like this Morgan Geekie deal. I'd give it an A-, B+. And I think when it really came down to brass tacks, he was the only guy that the Bruins should have been, like, really considering that they needed to re-sign from this past year. The only guy that was, like, nailed on, yeah, you should bring him back. The rest, Again, we're talking about a 15th place team in the Eastern Conference. Don Sweeney saw that 15th place finish, level on points for last in the Eastern Conference. And he said, we got to bring more of these guys in. And he's made a bevy of moves. Of course, we already knew the Mason Lowry move, which is one that I love. I'm a big Mason Lowry guy. I know he's someone that has frustrated a lot of Bruins fans in his defensive acumen or lack thereof in the early part of his career. But I just think he brings you so much offensively. He is going to become a better defenseman. We've heard NHL pundits say it for a long time, like these guys really getting used to defense in the NHL from a lower level. In the case of Mason Lowry, the NCAA to a little bit of time in Providence. You need about 200 games. And Mason Lowry has not played 200 games yet. I think he is going to get there. The other ones that the Bruins have gone through, Henry Jokiharju. Henry Jokiharju. 3-year contract, $3 million a year. This is a guy that you got at the trade deadline from Buffalo. Right shot defenseman, which you are pretty bare at, but I don't know who you were bidding against for $3 million a year. Okay, like, again, we're going in the new cap era. It's not a lot of money, right? But $3 million a year, even at short money for Jokiharju is just, I don't know where that's coming from. This is a guy who is a minus 17 for his career, playing for some bad Buffalo teams, wasn't all that much better for the Bruins. 18 games, 4 assists. He was a +7 for a bad team. So maybe take that into account. It's okay. It's okay. I'm giving that like a C+, B-. Is I don't think it's going to hurt you a ton at that number, but it feels like you add that number to your cap space and you're doing a little bit better than someone like Henry Jokiharju. But 6 foot, 200 pounds, 25, like they like those kind of guys. Johnny Beecher. This is the one I'm not getting. Now, this is where some of you might be saying, this guy's just looking for something to bitch about, okay? Because Johnny Beecher is signed for a 1-year, $900,000 contract. Pretty close to just the league minimum in terms of term, obviously, and in terms of his cap hit, okay? But I don't get it, man. The Bruins, I think, lead the league in useless players. And I think John Beecher is the most useless player on a team full of useless players. I just don't understand what the Bruins have loved about him and why they want to keep him on board. Again, it's for almost nothing, but this was a guy that you drafted in the first round a couple years ago and said, oh yeah, I hope he becomes a 4th-line player for us. And to be quite frank, he's not even that good. You over-evaluated him as a 4th-line NHL player because in all reality, he's not an NHL player. He played 78 games last year and scored a whopping 11 points on a -9 and only 26 penalty minutes in 78 games. The guy is just out there getting cardio. Like he literally does nothing for you. 44 shots in 78 games. Just over 10 minutes of time on ice. You can't find anybody else to do that. Anybody else with a little bit more upside? Johnny Beecher's fast. Great. He's not really giving you anything else. It's not one I understood at all. At all. In 26 more games than he had in 23-24, he gave the puck away 40 more times than he did in 23-24. Just, he can't score. He can't really defend. He's fast, but doesn't know where to go. It's just, I know it's a league minimum kind of contract, but I'd rather just have that guy off my roster. Why do you need to, you just had your worst season in 20 years and you brought back your worst skater. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me why they're bringing Johnny Beecher back, but again, maybe that's just me splitting the hairs and being a bit of a sourpuss. The other one that they brought back for short-term, short money, and on defensemen, on defense, I should say, is Michael Callahan. Michael Callahan doesn't do a ton for you, but he is a really nice third pairing defensive defenseman that you get for under $1 million. I don't mind that deal, because he's strictly a depth guy at super depth money, right? I mean, he's getting what, like 800,000, 775,000. You can you could take that. All right. I think that's an okay one to do. 1 year, $775,000, 2-way deal. I'm more than happy with that. The wild card one that I like, the last one of their pro guys that they re-signed, because they also re-signed an AHL guy, Marat Husnadinov, coming in on a 2-year contract worth $925,000. That deal I kind of really like. And I think a lot of Bruins fans would share my opinion in this, in that I can't really tell you why I really like Marat Husnadinov, but I like Marat Husnadinov. He's one of the fastest guys on the team. He definitely brings some offensive upside. He scored a couple breakaway goals in his short term with the Bruins after coming in at the trade deadline from Minnesota. I think you certainly won that deal because he's got to be better than Justin Brazeau. I mean, Justin Brazeau was a poor man's Johnny Beecher, so he's got to be better than that. And I just like the kid's upside. I know that tweet came out that said, like, oh, he's on his last chance to make sure he's a real NHLer. He just played his first full season. He's 22 years old. Like, he's still pretty young. I think you can get something out of Husnadinov. And I hope he's good, because getting that long a name on a jersey would be pretty cool. But I think Husnadinov brings you some real bottom six upside as a guy with a bit of a shot, real speedster, almost like a Danny Paille type from the Bruins glory era of 10, 15 years ago. I think he does give you something. The problem with Paille is you overpaid him and he had a no trade clause. Marat Husnadinov, not going to have that. $925K a year. Awesome value in terms of just the dollars. And I think he can do something for you. The last one we'll go over, the last one they've made so far, is Michael DiPietro, the goalie, from really playing all this time in Providence. I love that move because I want to trade Jonas Korpisalo. Korpisalo was like the worst goalie in the league 2 years ago as a starter for Ottawa. He came in as a backup this year. They had no confidence in him to the point where they just weren't playing him. And Jeremy Swayman played almost 60 games. Like, there's no reason for that. If you're going to have a goalie on this roster, you might as well play him 30 games. You know, that's what the Bruins have done for a long time. I think that would get the most out of Jeremy Swayman. And it was bizarre that they got fleeced in that deal by Ottawa, making them take their shit goalie on a shit contract, and then the Bruins not playing him. So trade him. Just have DiPietro be your cheap backup goaltender. I think it's been okay so far for the Bruins. I'd give it a B because their bad deals have been at low money. I think their worst deal in terms of player and money is Yoki Haru, which is just okay. I think their best deal at money and player is Morgan Geekie for 6 years and $33 million, which I think is also okay. I'd give them a high B, low A on that deal. But the Bruins need to go out and they need to get some more scoring depth in free agency, and they need another right shot defenseman still. I got plenty of lefties. They can get rid of some lefties, but they need some right shot defensemen. And then we're talking about, if you play it shrewd in the free agency period, and if all goes well, you might get James Higgins at the end of the season, then you could be talking about a playoff team. You could be talking about a team that's on par with Ottawa. I don't know that they're going to be better than Montreal, which is the big problem, but you could be talking about a team that's on par with Ottawa, and who knows, maybe Nikita Kucherov blows out his knee and Tampa's much worse. I don't really want that to happen, but the Bruins could make a push for the postseason next year if they get this free agency period right. Let me know what you think about their moves so far and what they need to do in free agency in the summer of 2025. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Guys, it helps me out a lot, helps the channel out a ton. Our numbers have been skyrocketing over the last few weeks. It's mainly because we've been doing this. We've been talking about the Bruins. The numbers on live are just busting right now. You can find us live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, every weekday, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you missed any part of this show, we're going to put the segments out on YouTube every weekday as well. Check out some of the other ones from recently, talking David Pastrnak, talking a lot about James Higgins and the Bruins draft. You can find that right here on the YouTube channel. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We will see you tomorrow on another edition of a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. We understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit twosains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.